Alright, so going to be talking about my game today. Um, Before I get into it, I guess I will give a little description of the game so far. Well, actually, let me just start it. Um, okay, so I had an idea for um a top-down like bit uh bit art style MOBA. Um, Mainly because I do a lot of Python work. Um, for my job, so it's just something I'm familiar with, and I decided it was easy enough to get into um, just doing something simple like a bit style game. Top down to kind of make it easy, not too much camera work that I would have to deal with, I feel like. And um, also top down makes it easy for like the MOBA style game, which I'm kind of going after. I'm kind of pulling inspiration from a lot of different games. I've played a lot of Smite, um, and I've played like a decent amount of Heroes of the Storm. Never played, no, never got into League. Um, what else? Yeah, so that's kind of like the main inspiration behind the game. But I'm kind of trying to keep it simple, but trying to add a decent amount of complexity to the actual gameplay. But I'm really not even close to um, like actually doing anything gameplay related yet. Right now, I'm kind of just getting the structure of the game. Since this is in Python, I'm using Pygame, so I guess that's kind of the engine. But you can think of most of this stuff. Most of this stuff is kind of from scratch, using sprite sheets. And I'm gonna kind of be using my initial thoughts are kind of using the pixel system, um, just like some sort of pixel system, grouping things into like I don't know, like 16 by 16 squares, um, and using that as like a grid system. I'm not completely sure yet. I'll kind of get into more of that stuff later and probably in like other episodes anyway. I kind of just wanted this to be like an intro into the project that I'm working on. Okay, so I'll kind of go through what I have so far. Just kind of have this home screen right now. Actually, so a lot of the art you'll see is pretty pretty awesome, but of course this is not my art. I used a lot of AI for anything art related that you see in the game. I used a lot of AI for that. It's kind of been fun to play around with. Uh, just ChatGPT and different art stuff is actually really a really easy way to get art. Obviously, I'm not trying to pass this off as my own or anything. And in the future, I'll probably replace all of the art with like my own stuff. Not that I can do anything like this, but I'll try and find ways to include art that's not like AI generated, or maybe I'll keep some of it. I don't really know for sure. But that's not really my focus on any of this stuff. Anyway, but yeah, uh, that's all AI generated, so I'm not gonna take credit for any of the art or really talk much about it. It's just kind of used for placeholders right now. But yeah, so I have a little debug mode set, and I'll also be going into code. Most of this video, I kind of just wanted to go into the actual game that I have so far, so that there's kind of a baseline. And then in future videos, I'll go into a lot of the code. But as you can see, right now, the project is relatively large already, and there's honestly not too much going on in the game right now. Like I said, I'm just kind of getting the structure of the game set up for now, and actually learning a lot about Pygame and just game development in general because I don't really know too much. I've seen a decent amount of videos. I used to like follow a decent amount of people who, posted like devlogs and stuff like that, but I've never really done it on my own. Anyway, so yeah, this is the home screen. I have a debug mode set with some just very simple things. This version is just pulling from the version that I have saved in this JSON file. Um, Mouse coordinates, so that's just kind of something that I am not really using right now, but I imagine I'd be using it down the line, and it was just something simple that I could include in this debug mode that I wanted to at least have for now as a placeholder. This is actually just the color of the text right there. and username. So right now I have a user object that gets initialized in the main.py file here that I'll go into later. This is just my gamer tag that I've used for a lot of like games growing up and stuff. So I just kind of have that as a placeholder. Pretty much everything you'll see here is kind of a placeholder. But yeah, I'll go into some of this other stuff, but I'll quickly show you the game. So yeah, there's a few more debug options over here. You'll see the FPS and the player. So this actually isn't the character model for this player name for Zeus. And so another quick thing, the original theme I had picked out for this game was like Greek mythology because I've just always been interested in that. Just as like a fun interest of mine, I guess. So I wanted to kind of have that be some inspiration. Also, like I said earlier, I played a lot of Smite. Uh, growing up. I guess not really growing up. I guess when I was a bit older. Um, but yeah, so I've always been interested in that. I kind of wanted to model some of that stuff off that game and also just that interest of mine. But that might not stick. That might completely change down the line. I'm not really sure yet. But for now, it's just kind of placeholders with Greek mythology characters. But yeah, so right now, the character spawns in, and you can move around. Right now, that's using a sprite sheet that I generated from a website that in a minute maybe I'll pull up. I'll try and find it on my other screen and pull it up. But it was a good free website that does pretty simple sprites like this. And all they do is require that you give them credit in your game if you publish it or anything like that, and that's not a big deal at all. And I've obviously no issue doing that. But also I probably won't even stick with these at eventually. Like I said, almost everything you see in this game is going to be placeholders for now. And like I said, I'm still learning a lot, and I've never programmed a video game at all before, so I'm kind of doing everything from scratch. Everything is it's going to be very iterative. So yeah, like a lot of just doing kind of even some basic things that may take some time. But yeah, right now, so I just have the character that can move around the screen. He has a little health bar. If you press 1, he speeds up. Um, I actually originally programmed that to be a teleport function, but I realized later that he's not teleporting. He's actually just infinitely um, he's actually just speeding up and going quicker when you hold the 1 key. That's another thing I want to include in the debug mode is what key you're pressing to show up on the screen. Uh, as I'm like making these videos and as I'm like playing the game, I feel like that'd be pretty helpful for not only me debugging, but also just for like watching these videos. Like if I'm pressing 1 here, you can see that's what's happening. Anyway, and then 5 hits the health bar by half, and it keeps going by half. That was just kind of to get some animation on the screen, like an example of animation on the screen. And then when I originally spawned in, a few seconds later, this NPC spawned in. Right now, I just have this dude spawning in, doing absolutely nothing, but he's there. Okay, so then if you hit the escape button, you go to the pause menu, and you can either resume the game, obviously, or quit, which would kill the whole game, or you can go back home. So I'll go home real quick. So yeah, a few more buttons that work on the home screen. So we have the options is actually the only one that doesn't work. Select character right now. So again, AI art, use that. Right now it's just displaying the file name, but eventually I'll map that to the character. Not that that's a hard thing to do, I just didn't do it. And then I have some arrows over here in the return home button. Right now I can cycle through 3 characters. So just Hades, Zeus, and Giannis. This was my favorite character in Smite, so I just figured I'd put him in here for now. Anyway, you can return home, and then you can go to your profile. So right now, that's my email. I don't know, maybe I'll probably blur that out actually, because it's my full name. But anyway, username, that's username. I imagine at some point in the future I'll do stuff like assigning a user's profile, and they can connect to some service that I can have hosted, and maintain track of their user profile and their account and stuff, and see their account level, or uh, like XP level or whatnot, whatever type of system I end up implementing. But I think that would be kind of cool. And that's just, again, kind of just placeholders for now to get the very basic. Like I said, everything's iterative, so get the very basic stuff going first. Just kind of get the main structure outlined, and then be able to build off that. Also, it helps me because I definitely need a lot of uh, I need some reusable bits of code. So even simple stuff like just a new screen, clicking a button, spawning a character, stuff like that. Little things like that kind of go a long way, and make development easier if you kind of have some reusable bits that you can have, that work, and are working well, and don't break and whatnot. Um, oh, also, I'm just now realizing these red um, boxes all over the screen. Yeah, I probably should have explained that. I think I have these set to. I could look right now, but I think I have these set to. These are 16 by 16 bit squares, so I just wanted to kind of outline the grid here. Eventually, I'll be moving the game to full screen, but for now, I just had it set to 1280 by 720. So that's what the screen size is right now, but eventually that'll be full screen. But yeah, anyway, this just calculates two seven sorry, 1280 by 720. Oh, also I have an idle timeout, so I forgot that existed actually. But what was I saying there? Oh shoot, I actually forgot what I was saying. Um, 1280 by 720. It calculates all the squares needed to fill the screen size there. That math is actually, like, I'm doing that math. Well, the code's doing that math, but yeah. So like I said, all this stuff is from scratch. Oh, I didn't actually know it did that. I've never done this. But yeah, so I'm outlining the grid system. I imagine, so I'll give maybe a little bit of my thoughts on how the map system could work. And I also wanted to say that, like, throughout these videos, if I even, end up posting these and being consistent with them, I'm open to any feedback. If I'm doing something in the code, or if I have something that I say with game development that is just completely stupid, or, you could, and if anybody wants to, chime in and give some advice or anything like that, definitely open to it. Like I said, I'm learning a bunch, and I want to get better at this stuff. So yeah, I'm not saying anything I'm doing is the right way to do things. That's just kind of, this is my thought process and how I'm doing it. If I was doing it from scratch, which I am, but also, like, if I had never programmed before, I'm kind of thinking things through in kind of basic ways. Anyway, so I'm thinking the grid system could kind of be used as the map, and I can kind of think of different areas on the grid system here as, like, locations on the map. And so, like, let's say maybe I had, like, maybe like 10 of these little boxes here. If you imagine those were, like, filled in, maybe that would be like an area for, like, a, I don't know, like a buff in the game or something. And then you could use the player's location, and if the player's location was on any of these grid boxes, then they get the buff. Like, I'm just thinking in terms of, like, logic and code, and, like, how would you do something like that from scratch? So throughout these videos, that's kind of my thought process for all of this, is kind of, like I said, doing things from scratch, but trying to simplify things, and see kind of how basics sometimes you can make things. And maybe that is kind of a stupid way to think about it or do it. Maybe there's some. The other thing is, maybe there's some really good tool in Pygame that kind of does that for you, and I just don't know about it, and maybe I should do a little bit better research. But yeah, so stuff like that, I'm kind of thinking about how to do things from scratch. Yeah, so I'll kind of go into the code a little bit. Main.py is obviously the driver here. This is the majority of my code so far. This is where everything kind of kicks off and is being done. Um, I think I'm actually, it doesn't really matter. So yeah, so main.py gets kicked off, jumps into this main function. Um, here's the home button. Actually, this is actually being used. This is actually being used later on. I kind of did something janky up here that I won't try and explain right now, but ignore that. Anyway, so while main's running, or while running's true, main will be running, and this will essentially just be the home screen. So when the program's initially kicked off, home screen gets shown, and then these buttons get shown over here. Profile button, play button, those are the buttons that you saw on the home, but on the home screen here. And then if any of those buttons are clicked, then a different kind of profile, or not profile, a different screen will pop up. And for example, in the profile one, the show profile screen function will run, and I'll show that function in a bit. But yeah, so then if you hit play, that's kind of the main one. Obviously, the user gets actually. I will show that first. The user up here gets generated along with some other things. I guess I will go through this real quick. Some settings from some of my JSON files get pulled in to be used later. Pygame gets initialized. That kicks off the game. And then screen size stuff happens. The loading screen that I have set up, kind of makeshift loading screen. And yeah, user gets created. So that's right now. It's just a simple user object that I'll show real quick. Simple user object. Like I said, right now pretty much everything's a placeholder, so I'm not even really going to dive into this. But for now, just something simple, just username and email address. And then yeah, so some of the constants for the loading screen and all that stuff. NPC, home button, pause button. Those are used in the home screen and in the pause screen, which I'll show in a minute. And yeah, obviously I should have these put into one of my JSONs or yeah, I should have one of these in my JSONs as living there as a constant. But yeah, I'm kind of, like I said, always iterating. So when I do stuff like this, it's usually temporary, and then I pop it over into a more, uh, I guess, stable and permanent place to live. And then that's some of the character stuff. But I'll come back. But yeah, so when the game is running, depending on what you click on here, like I showed, the user object gets created. There's a player attribute to it, so that'll create the player object. We'll go into the player object a little bit more later. Right now, it's really massive, and I actually had a lot of help with this code. So like I said, I'll get into that later. And then a game object is created if you hit play. Right now the game object is looking like this. Right now it's very much a placeholder. It's not really even doing much. It just kind of is doing a couple small things. It actually is doing a little bit with this, with the clock and the. Yeah, sorry, I did for a little while. I didn't have this stuff abstracted into the game object. Now it is. So now I have a lot of stuff actually relying on the game object, which is good. And eventually, a lot more will rely on this game object as I build the game out and add more to it. But right now, the game object is using the user, so it's taking that in. Eventually, the way I'm thinking about it, I imagine the game object would take in, multiple users. It would take in things related to maybe the map, Okay, my microphone just died because I was talking for so long and no audio was playing, so it automatically shut off. But I was saying, yeah, I imagine the game object would eventually take in, a lot more things. I'm trying to pre-plan and just kind of start to imagine what would go into this, because this is kind of an important part of the whole system I have going here. Um, so I imagine it would take in things like all the users of the game, especially when this thing starts getting into multiplayer, which is definitely way down the line. Definitely not even ready for any of that. I'm still, still working on getting the basics down here. So we'll kind of see what ends up going with that. But then run game gets called. So this is kind of the big guy here. What am I doing here? Run game. So if you go into run game, running true while running. So this is where the game clock comes in. That's what gets the FPS going, at least visually. Well, no, this is functional too, but then I use the FPS for the in the debug mode. Mouse coordinates here. That's what's driving the mouse coordinates in the debug mode as well. This is going through the pygame.events object. I haven't dove honestly too much into actually what else is included in the object here, but these are kind of the main things that I'm using here. This gets called pretty frequently throughout the code, so if the game gets quit, then just exit. Um, so yeah, key down, so key presses, stuff like that. If doing stuff like that. What else am I doing here? Yeah, escape key is gonna pause and idle the game. And then yeah, if it's pause, continue. So just a little bit of while you're in here, just a little bit of logic happening, like while nothing is happening visually, if that kind of makes sense. And then some more pause and idle logic. And then here's kind of where the key presses come in. So moving around the character here, just simple, the user inputs here. Uh, so yeah, using that. And then this is just visually displaying the screen. So yeah, displaying the user character, the actual sprite sheet. Um, yeah, and then here this is just my hard coded logic for throwing an NPC in there. Um, yeah, so yeah, debug mode, I have that set in the settings. So kind of doing some stuff there. Don't really have that much going in the debug info. I have this debug info object that I made. Where is it? In debug.py here. So I have this going. So if I want to display debug information on the screen, I can pass any of these, but I don't have to depending on where I'm at in main.py here, I have different things available to me. So like in some instances when I'm debugging, I can't use the mouse coordinates, or I'm just simply not using the mouse coordinates because I didn't define them and I just didn't feel like it, or whatever the case may be. But like for example, FPS, I don't have that clock going in anything else but run game, so I can't. I'm not grabbing the FPS. I think I guess I could have the clock going on the home screen, but I just don't. So yeah, that's again where I could do more research and be a little bit more thorough. But anyway, so that's kind of how that's going. And then yeah, so that's kind of the main logic, and then the options, like I said, that one's not going to anything right now, but the select character screen is going to that, and we have the show profile screen. So I'll just go up to those. A lot of those functions are up top here. So character selection is kind of doing a lot. This one's a new one that I just put in today. So while this is going, it's just kind of going to loop through. It's going to pull in initially the first character that I have in this list that I have hard coded, but I'll pull that out. And then yeah, it's just grabbing the first one and it's showing it. It's showing it here, and then it's showing the character name. Well, right now that's just the file path, but eventually I'll map that to the character name and whatnot. And then it has the arrows. It's doing some stuff here. A lot of this logic here, I rely heavily on the internet for, and ChatGPT helps me with stuff like this, like getting these numbers right, and kind of just figuring out how to use some of these basic functions. If I can get started with some of these, then I can really take off and use them, and or abstract them out and use them more. So stuff like this, to be abstracted out in the future, and all this stuff is kind of, like I said, a decent amount of placeholders, but a lot is kind of used as initial functionality that I can then build upon and you know, kind of just yeah iterate on and make better as I learn more and as I get better at this. But yeah, so character selection, return home, in most of these like screens, in most of these different screen functions, I have this code. This is pretty, or I have this code. This is specific to the arrows up here, but in pretty much any of these screens, you have stuff like this. Just if the game's quit, then quit the game. Mouse button down to see if you're clicking on anything. Um, and yeah, there's some logic in there. I don't, like I said, I don't want to go too into the weeds of everything right now. In the future, when I iterate on these things, I'll have to dive more into logic on how you know some of these things are working, you know, in greater detail. Right now, I just kind of have them working based on some simple logic. But in the future, I'll be diving more into like I said, the details so that I can not only learn more, but like I said, be able to build off of it and apply it to more of the code. Because if I want to, you know, some of these that right now aren't abstracted out, I'm kind of, you know, putting off. And then when I go to abstract it out is when I'll kind of learn more about it. So as I need to refactor code, I will. Um, yeah, this is just drawing text. The quick loading screen when the app or when the game loads up. Yeah, profile screen right now. You know, some hard-coded stuff, some not. Like I have, like I said, username or the user uh, object has been initialized at the beginning, so that that object has information like the username, email, level and XP, all that stuff. And then just you know displaying some text on the screen, stuff like that. Return home button. Like I said, I have this in pretty much everything. And now that I just kind of went through this whole file, I'm realizing this is kind of this chunk of code here. Not only should be kind of abstracted out, but I should figure out if it should go at the beginning or the end of these functions here. It's not really mattering right now, but I'm sure at some point it will. So I'll take a look at that at some point. Home screen, yeah, pretty simple, kind of similar to all the other ones. Yeah, that's oh yeah, pause screen. Have the pause screen going. That is just we'll press escape. This one pops up. So a lot of those are a lot of repeat code. Even though there are a lot of repeat code, I'm kind of repeating it and not abstracting some of it out yet because some of them are kind of custom to the situation, but not too much. So I can start abstracting some of these out. But yeah, so I have some other files over here. Yeah, I showed game user. Some I don't even have populated, like enemy. I don't even have that. Some stuff I just, like I said, have as placeholders. This I was actually making as, I haven't even used this in the code yet. I just kind of was sitting around bored and thinking about character ideas and how that would get abstracted into a JSON file. So I just threw it into a JSON and started thinking about you'd have character, you'd have the ID for the character, name, description, image to it. I was using this as a placeholder for a while, but I just recently made like I said, using AI. AI, you just Al just recently made me those, so I'll start replacing that. But like I said, I'm not even using this in the code. Um, but yeah, and then yeah, this is another quick thing that I'm pulling in as inspiration. The World of Warcraft class system. So I really like that class system for this style of game. And I didn't really ever think about that, but usually a classic MOBA game, most of them have your classic. You have like a ADC, which is like a ranged damage character. You have like a mid laner, which is like a mage damage dealer, and then you usually have like a jungler, which is like a kind of a squishy damage dealer. Um, and what else you have? Like a support tank character, and usually like or like a healer or somebody or something like that. Um, and that's also in the 5v5. I don't know if I just named five or if I did four, but anyway, just look up the MOBA, the classic MOBA character categories. So I don't want to do something completely like that. I want to do something kind of similar, but not to, and also on that note, and they all characters only have one uh, role. Yeah, in some games you can build them differently based on like the in-game like shop system and like in-game like reward scaling system, but and you can build them differently to have different purposes. But as you know, conceptually, those characters all fit um, a particular like category like tank or healer or damage dealer or something like that. So I want to do something sort of like the World of Warcraft character and specialization system. So if you're unfamiliar, there's a bunch of different character options. I'm not talking about customization options for um, like like customization options. I'm talking about like there's options for like characters, so like priest, demon hunter, warrior, paladin, things like that, and then each of them have specializations. So like a paladin has a tank, a heal, and a damage specialization. So it has three specs, and it can swap into them and be a completely different role and character and have different stats and yeah, essentially act as a completely different character with different priorities and all that stuff. So I kind of want to do that in a MOBA game, which don't think I've seen. But like, yeah, so I think it would be interesting to have, for example, like Hades be, have the spec DPS melee, and right now, like I said, very very much placeholders, but DPS melee would have uh, a certain utility and a certain set of abilities and stats here, uh, and then Hades could also have the tank melee spec, so just a different set of abilities here and priorities, and tank melee gets more health. Now eventually something like this character system is is it's a whole beast of its own. This has to kind of be tackled on its own, and this is kind of a big priority in the future, not only to make this more complex, but not make it too complex, but make it complex enough to where there's variety and there's some variation in the game, and to where the game's interesting, and to where it's obviously fun to play. So that's obviously way down the line. Uh, but that'll be something interesting in the future. Yeah, so then settings. Right now, all I have is debug true version right now. So yeah, I'm calling the stage alpha. Right now, I'm just 010. I'm just calling it MOBA. Haven't thought of a name yet. And I was thinking of like a developer studio name, and I thought this sounded cool. So I thought I'd go with that for now. But who knows in the future? Um, Anything else that I'm missing? I don't really think I'm missing much. I have some of these markdown files that I have some ideas written down. I don't want to click on one. Not to. I don't want to give too much away, but here's just kind of my random thoughts on uh, kind of a bunch of different things. So I'm not gonna really go through some of these, but these are kind of just some of my thoughts on things. So as I'm going through the game and as I'm coding and whatnot, I'm kind of thinking about that stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, these are some of my constants. Yeah, like I said, 1280 by 720 right now. That's what I'm rocking with. That's background image is where is it here? Yeah, like I said, AI generated. I have some of these cool icons. These are sprite sheets. I had this logo. Oh, that's the icon for right here. I thought that was really cool. Again, Al generated that for me. I thought this was pretty sweet. Why do I feel like I didn't go through that? I definitely did, but yeah, I totally did. Yeah, I remember doing that now. Anyway, yeah, so yeah, that's initially what I'm rocking with for the game. Um, so yeah, I'm just gonna be building on this. I gotta actually push some of these. For the life of me, I can't get these I can't get these to get out of my Git um, commit and stage area. I eventually just decided to try and hard code the physical path to it, but that's not even working. Like I literally none of these are working. I don't know why that keeps showing up. I swear I tried and I'm not completely stupid, but something I'm like you can see I'm trying a bunch of stuff that I don't even have in my project, so I don't know. But yeah. So right now I'm just gonna call this like developer vlog 1 finished, even though I didn't make any changes in here. Um, yeah, oh yeah, you can see all my commits here. Yeah, so this is kind of how far I am. This was my initial commit 4 days ago. Yeah, and so 4 days ago, I started this. I really went nuts on a Sunday. I just kind of sat there and did a 6 hour crazy session. And like I said, I'm new to this, so like that was a lot of learning for me. And then once I kind of had some of the basic stuff, I could really get going crazy with kind of scaling it up a little bit. For me, that's scaling up a lot. Just getting like menus and buttons working and different, graphics things on the screen, character, animation, just getting that walking was nice. And like I said, I'll go into details on more of that stuff in the future as I iterate on it, because as I iterate on it, I'll need to kind of dive into kind of some of the placeholders I have here for some of the basic stuff that I have going. Um, so yeah, I'm interested to see if people have any feedback on this or ideas or input or any kind of advice or just anything that can kind of help this go along. Yeah. Anyway, so. I'm hoping to do these somewhat frequently. I really have no idea. Um, I have a full-time job. I'm a data engineer, so I kind of also have been using a lot of those principles as I do some of this stuff. So I don't really do any of this type of work at all in my actual job, but I feel like I can apply a decent amount of kind of just my thought process as I'm thinking about these things. So I'm not even really code at all. I mean, zero code is really helpful because this stuff is just way different than anything else I've done. And especially with like visual stuff. Yeah, this is just all this is so much different than I've ever worked with. But the good thing is it's all in Python, which is nice. So like just getting syntax stuff right, working with libraries and getting imports and, pathing and stuff like that is so much easier for me if I'm in Python, just because I know that stuff already. And also, yeah, when I'm just thinking about building a system here, like that's essentially what you're doing here. You're building the whole system yourself. You're not relying on like Unity UI, which by the way is I'm sure great. I honestly was just kind of too stubborn to learn a new UI, so I just decided I'd do it this way and kind of have fun with it, even though it's not as like I'm not able to as quickly create something as crazy. It's kind of fun to be able to learn it this way, and then eventually if I imagine if I could get pretty decent with this, then I could really scale it up. But yeah, anyway, like I was saying, I can really apply like building systems here to this because it's very much just like a very large and very like interactive system in a way where so many things are communicating with each other at the same time. And right now there's not even that much going on, but there's still kind of a lot of moving pieces here. And as I scale it up, it'll definitely get more complex and it'll be interesting. But yeah, so that was kind of the first video. I'm just now realizing how long that was. I rambled on for a long time, but yeah, I really kind of wanted to get off to a uh, get a baseline going. I wanted to get a baseline started, and because like I said, I kind of did a lot of work and have a lot of ideas. So I wanted to get a lot of my initial thoughts and ideas and progress out there, and then hopefully can build on this and keep posting videos and see where it goes in the future. Um, and kind of be interesting to see, how far I can take it. Um, I don't really have like a plan in mind, but I just imagine I'll just keep going and going and going, and if I can just keep learning and picking away at things and scaling it up and iterating on it, I imagine I could, maybe one day release it on Steam or something. I don't know. I think that's kind of I guess that is kind of the goal, but I'm not pressed on like a timeline or anything, but I think it's kind of important to have some type of goal in mind, even if that's not, and that's not even really that unrealistic. People post games on Steam all the time, so that wouldn't really be even that crazy. Um, so yeah, I think it'd be cool to eventually have it up there, if I can get it into a pretty interesting spot, where I think people could have fun with it, or at least I could have my friends go check it out or something. I don't know, but yeah. So I'll end the video there. But yeah, hopefully I can post some more of these and keep updating as I go. I'm thinking I'll probably, like I said, with work and stuff, I'll probably have to I'll see how many of these I can do, but I would like to maybe get one of these out every month or so, or maybe every couple months or something. And hopefully I have something like this in my commit history the next time I make a video, and not just a couple commits or anything like that. So anyway, or hopefully I have more. Hopefully I can just have a bunch of progress and kind of dive into a bunch of cool things that I've done. But anyway, yeah. So I'll end the video there. Hopefully people found this interesting, if anybody found it at all. So yeah, cool. All right, see ya.